Right, so I'm just going to do a video, my bigger picture thoughts on ES, Aussie dollar, Aussie yen, maybe 6J. I was supposed to do this in January, but I didn't really have a clear picture at the time. So I don't usually step in or make big swing plans until things are clearer. Sometimes it takes time. So let's start with the dollar index, okay? Do it from scratch. I did do it, I think, a couple of months ago. Has gone to plan. But what do I expect next? So let's start with the yearly. What's the key yearly levels that stand out to me? Let's start off with this. So I'll do all the yearly levels in blue. So that's a key yearly level. Why? Bounce, resistance, resistance, big reaction, closed above, support, support last year, closed below. That puts me on a bearish, bias. Okay, so that would be where I would like market to be capped by. Could wick possibly, who knows, but that would be where I would like it to be capped by. What about the downside? What will be the next objective? There. On the way down there, do we have any other levels? Here. So let's mark them out. Let's see how price is reacting with them. So I will start off with the yearly. So all I want to know is where it's going to go next probability wise. I reckon here. What happens here? I don't know. Could he do this? Could he do this? Who cares? Targets and targets. As long as I know which mark should be capped by, where I'm wrong, where's the next downside, that's done. Now on the lower time frame, that's going to be big projections or big targets. So that's that. So this will mainly give me my bias for the FX majors. Okay, that's done now. What's the next key levels? Let's go down to the quarterly. Okay, so I'm not going to mark out too many levels. It's more of a higher time frame perspective. But on the quarterly, okay, question is how deep can it go? One more thing is, does it have to give a perfect retest? No. So I'm going to mark out both scenarios. So I always mark out a deeper pullback scenario and a trend continuation scenario. Why? If you look at a trending market, it's like this, like this. More of a range bound environment is it is deeper pullbacks, okay? So like here, if you wanted to sell here, I said, oh, I want to pull back here, but it doesn't. It carries on going. Could we get that? Possibly. Where would the odds of a trend continuation increase? Below the yearly open. So let's mark that out as well. Because then that would be the wick. And I usually pay more attention to the yearly open once we've had at least a month or so unfold. So that pink or purple levels can be my yearly open. Okay. So let's continue now. Quarterly. Looking weak. Okay. So what would be the next downside? I mean, here, if I wanted, ideally I would have liked to retest there, say for example's sake, it doesn't, continues. Or if it happens here, market's really weak, trend continuation. So quarterly, what are the levels? I mean, there's nothing much to update. I mean, we've got this quarterly low here. Let's mark that up. How does that line up? So if I go there, draw that out. Okay. It hasn't quite retested, it doesn't necessarily have to. Not much to gain from that. Okay, let's go to the monthly. Okay, here it is. So now we can dissect it more. So we've got obviously previous year's low. Let's mark that out. And I want to mark it out in a different color. So let's put that in green, just so it stands out, so we know what we're dealing with. Okay, so bigger picture says to me, this is the consolidation that took you below that yearly level. So I'm wrong there. If it was to gain back above there, this would become a deviation. At that point, I'd say, okay, higher prices towards here, possibly even towards here. Okay, I haven't drawn out correctly, but we'll deal with that if or when the time comes. For now, I'm expecting something like this, trend continuation. First target, second target. Okay, let's zoom in a bit more now. So now I can mark out last month's high. So where are we trapped within? So we're trapped within last year, December's low, which is last year's low, and previous month's high. So that's our smaller time frame range now. Okay, that's that. Let's go to the weekly. Okay, could this possibly be the top? Possibly, I don't know. And I don't guess it either. I'll go with what the market's telling me. Ideally, I would just make it easier if it did retest this. Could possibly do that. Okay, retest this and then push lower, or it could just, the high could be in. What do I do in this case? So I'll still hold with that plan where this could just be a retest. I'm accepting a push up into there, squeeze into there. This would be my area where I'd look for this to go down. Okay, so in that case, I look at the FX majors. What are they showing me? So let's break this down now and say, okay, what if that doesn't happen? What do I do? Because it's retested the minimum, this daily level here. Okay, so that could be the high end, could be something like this. So it's not, it could do this, could do that. It's just mapping out a scenario, you know, looking at it, okay, mapping out possible plans, what could happen, and then triggers. So there's no trigger here yet. I'm spilling the storyline behind it, context behind it. So what's next? What I'm going to mark out is going to be the clear-cut triggers. Now, obviously, as price unfolds, things become clearer. But what I've got to work with is this. So scenario one is this. I'm seeing this as still key support. So this could be one more high up for a swing failure, and then go down like here. You know, here pushes up, then goes down, or it could push down from here. The way it's shaping up, I mean, I would like one more bounce, even if it's a high or low. So if it does this, or if it does that, it doesn't matter. Whichever one it does, the moment we can get back below previous month's high, that will be a deviation for me. The minimum for a key level to be tested has already been done, which is there. Okay, so at that point, I would say, our probability wise, I would say it's going towards back into this range, and I would say lower prices. What will be the objectives? Firstly, yearly open. Secondly, there. So that's one range for me. Okay, if I drag that to the left, that's a range. That's a, this is a deviation once reclaimed high prices, which I've already posted on Twitter. So if it does this, deviation. So that would be, that's what I'm working towards. Clear objectives here and then there. So at that point, could it do this? Who knows? But I know I'm targeting towards here. That's enough for a trade for me. At what point would I say expansion out of that is if it breaks below the range low. So if it breaks below the range low, I would probably say the high is in for the next couple of months at least. So that would take us, well, how would that look like? That would look like a wick for the yearly candle. Below here is a range within here, which is previous consolidation. Okay, and then if it breaks this, then towards here. On the way there, we've got that and then that. Okay, so the two plays for the dollar index for me, that would, you know, dictate what the majors are going to do. Whatever happens here, high, lower high, or swing failure, doesn't matter. Get back below here, then I'll feel confident saying the dollar index high is in, and then I'll play expansion to the downside on for this or long the majors. Okay, and then a separate trade would be, or a trend continuation, smash back below here, that's exiting one range, new range, expansion towards there, and then lower prices. So that's all I've got for the dollar index. Okay, I'm not gonna say much more than that. I know exactly what I need to see for, you know, the probability of a high to be in. Okay, so we'll see how price unfolds, whichever one it does. But I know the key thing is what I need to see for a trigger scenario. Within here, I mean, if I get a bounce or whatever, that is more day trade type. This is more directional moves. Okay, what I need to see. I mean, we could also throw in, and once the context is set, then I start throwing in, like, you know, stuff like trend lines, etc. So, you know, make it something like this. Then I just use them as confluence. Okay, that's just confluence for me now. It doesn't really make a difference. If we reclaim this yearly level, okay, if we reclaim back above this yearly level, and that's a warning sign for me then, because that would mean to me we are back within an old range. So if I draw it like this and possibly like this, okay, so what I'm expecting is a retest of the range, a low ideally, but if we reclaim this, and that sort of becomes a bigger deviation, and we hold this, so if it's a deviation, should be short-lived and get back below quick. If you hold this, that's a warning sign to me. I'm going to mean something could change. And that would be a play for me from there towards there. And if you hold above here, and that could easily mean I'll run up towards there. And then I'll be considering, I'm going to mean, is this a longer term low in? But again, even if it's not, it doesn't matter to me. I'm trading. I know exactly if it reclaims this and holds, then the probability of the next target is going to be towards here. And I can use that to play the majors. And if it does that, then I know here. So what I do is I just break it down to majors. So that way, it makes it easier for me not to hold a bias. There's times where the bias is clear cut. There's other times where, you know what, I don't know. But that's fine. I know exactly how to tackle that by playing it level to level. So I hope that makes sense. So yeah, that's more or less it for the dollar index, okay? Bigger picture still bearish until proven otherwise. So question is, how deep is the pullback going to be like here? It doesn't quite get there. At what point was it totally confirmed for me? Was a break of this. So I could still play within this range, day trades. And once this broke out, that took me into swing territory. Because at this point, when I'm here, I would still want that pullback, but it didn't happen. What if the same case is here? Okay, so always be prepared. If it doesn't come back to your level, what are you going to do? How do you tackle it? Okay, so hope that makes sense. Let's move forward now to, I'll do the ES, then the Aussie and Aussie dollar and Aussie yen, as they're my favorites. Well, one of my favorites, okay? So let's do ES. Now this week, I mean, bigger picture, I'm very bullish this week. I was sort of looking for a correction, okay? I thought, okay, the dollar's going to push up, which it did. And I thought, okay, maybe ES, corrects. This thing seems to be on steroids. This is where the trigger plans help me avoid losses. I had the trigger plan for this. And last week, I think I got a couple of day trades out of it, but just wasn't pushing lower. So what helps me is if I don't get that trigger, then I stay away from it. Like, I'm not going to pick a top in this. But I've got a clear plan next to when the probability increases. Okay, so I'm very cautious. If I'm fighting the trend, then I'll wait for like double confirmation. So let's start off. Last year's high, we're above that, and yearly open. I'm also going to mark out this level. So these black levels are yearly level highs. I'm also going to go over the monthly, the key levels here. So we'll go to the monthly. What's the key level here? This just estimates that it looks really strong. Things could change, but that's fine. That's why I mark out two scenarios. Whichever follows, I know exactly when to step in. If it doesn't give me that, I don't step in. So if you look previously, right, once it broke above this yearly level, we reclaimed it, found support, rallied up. So naturally, I would expect, say this was a 5-minute chart, this is where I would look for buying opportunity. I know I'm wrong here, and continuation. That's what I thought would happen. It didn't. So this means trend continuation for now until proven otherwise. Remember this? If it's strong, it won't pull back. Whereas I was hoping for this. So even if I'm hoping for that, I need a clear trigger. If I don't get that, no trade. So okay, that's important for me. What else is important? Well, another monthly level. So when it broke out of this range, that was the first high formed. Let's mark that out. There. So this shows me that it's shallower pullbacks mean strength in the market. Okay. So now what range are we broken out with? Now the new year started. We got the yearly open. So let's mark that out. And this is going to be in, say, pink or purple, whatever. That's the yearly open. We then, so the first month down candle, second month is expanding up. Still early, okay? Things could still change, but this is where the trigger plans come in. So I'll do previous month's high, previous month's low. We'll do that in blue, okay? So January high, and then we've got January low, okay? So we're starting to expand out of that. I mean, still early, the month hasn't closed. This could still be a wick. Okay, so now we're going to work with that. So where was my bearish trigger plan? So this was a key level, right? Monthly level. So for me to take this, the high probability play was, that's why I was waiting. And I think a few people asking me, why are you not shorting here? You get clean validation. Well, the reason was this is still key support. For me to short it with conviction, especially when I'm counter trading it, I need a key higher time frame level to break. And then it's higher probability. That is different taking scalps within this. But for more of a directional move, if this had got cracked, I mean, if you look at it, once it reclaimed it, key support, okay, it's still bullish. This is just a retest of key support. But I had my reasons, for example, dollar index going up, and I saw some of the indices weakening. I thought, okay, maybe we get a cool off period and price in a deeper wick for the year. So if this had broken, then where would be my retest? Here. And if this had broken, then we get back into here. That was more extreme scenario. This consolidation here, and then look for swing longs. It didn't happen, no trigger. In the future, if it happens, if this level breaks, then my ranges play from there towards there. And this is still key support. Could be a possible springboard. Could it do this? So if it came into here and then did this, I would see that as a deviation. Reclaim of key level, higher. Path of least resistance is higher. If it came into here, play towards there. And then if it broke below here, I play this range. So I got my eye on the higher time frame. I'm playing it range level to range level or level to level, which makes it easy for me. This is just how I do it, not the right way or wrong way. Some people say, oh, I'm shorting it towards there. Possibly, but if I'm short, say for example, I short it from there towards there, I'll play it from there towards there, then from there towards there. I'm technically playing a swing trade, but it's easy for me psychologically. So I gotta adapt and come up with a method where it's easy for me, okay? Because I've always gotta be aware of the possibility this is still key support. I was so tempted to short it there, but I can't. It hasn't broken. It's still support. You gotta always remember what's happening bigger picture. You can always talk yourself into a trade idea, and the lower time frame is there to really confuse you. But if it's not giving you the trigger, nothing there. Okay, So having said that, it looks kind of bullish. So we're at new highs. What does price do? So this is previous month's high. Okay, so what do we do? Now it's freshly broken out. You know, could it just be a deviation? Could it pull back within there? I'm working backwards. I would say, okay, where am I wrong on the idea? So for bullishness, okay, how far could it pull back before I'd say I'm wrong? Probably below here. Technically, okay, low. This with a higher low, so lower high. Sorry, low, and then higher low. Okay. Let's mark out scenarios. What's the key levels for me here? So what I'm going to do now is, ideal scenario would be, okay, this is still a range. Okay, that's a deviation. Scenario 1 is, if it gives me the deeper pullback towards here, because the key low, we know it's got to hold below here. Any little deviation, that's fine. Bullish structure, okay, my trigger entry technique. If you watch my past YouTube videos, you'll know. Then that would be a play for me from there towards range high. Why? That's our range established. If it breaks below here, starts breaking down, we've entered the new range, and I'm happy to play from there towards there. Okay. What if it's a strong market and doesn't give me that deep pullback? Well, okay. I don't know how deep it's gonna go. If it's gonna come down, I don't guess. I'll say, okay, a logical level would be, if I break this down, I mean, we've got a range here. So if I do this, so I'll just box it out, it's easier. Okay, we have this consolidation here. Okay, so I want to see evidence that every time, if it dips below here, which will technically be deviation, I want to get back above it quick to show me strength. So first area for a shallow pullback would be if it gets back within. So for now, because it's bullish, I would expect it to be a deviation. What's the sign of a deviation is short-lived, and then it reclaims that level and holds, and that says to me, okay, we want to push higher, and that would be a shallow pullback done, and we shouldn't really break that low, whatever the low's formed. Otherwise, if it just smashes through that, this is the next level. So I know exactly what I need to see for a shallow pullback, what I need to see for a deeper pullback, and if it breaks there, where am I thinking, okay, maybe now the high is in. So for a shallow pullback, okay, I'm going to give you the easy peasy scenarios, okay. Again, when I'm day trading like this, or short-term trading for new invalidations, I usually see what the intra-week price is like. But just to keep it basic, okay, that will be KSR. If it does this, reclaims, then I'll be looking for longs, okay. As for targets, how do I do that? I'll just use basic way fib extension. I'm sure you got many ways of doing it. Take the high, oops, wrong one. Take that high to this low. Fib extension targets suggest to me 127.2, 1.6182. If it doesn't give me the trigger, I'll have to see what I've got to work with in when the new week starts, okay. But for me, it's bullish. So we either pull back into here, we get what I want to see, play it from there towards there, and then there, or shallow pullback, and then continuation. Okay. At what point would I say, okay, at this point we want to go shorts, probably below here. Okay. Maybe if I get something here, who knows? Maybe some fundamental thing comes out. But for now, market suggesting higher prices. Okay. And the key thing is always think about it. If every dip below here, that's the monthly candle price getting below previous month's high. So we want it to hold above the previous month's high. Picture the monthly candle. If the monthly comes back below, last month's open, that the yearly open, that's when it's trouble. Hence why that's my downside boundary. Okay, deep pullback scenario. So hope that makes sense. Okay, so that's ES. So another thing I want to talk about is how lower time frame price patterns can make you forget the bigger picture and can be misleading. So for example, say I had this like a channel drawn. Okay, it's roughly drawn. It's just roughly drawn. Okay, now if I understand my higher time frame range and my higher time frame levels, chart patterns like this are just an excuse for me to enter. So for example, say I had a short, okay, played it from there to target 1 to target 2. Now, say you're at all-time highs, and it's just natural. I think people find where the top's got to be in. Any excuse for the top being, oh look there. But don't forget, there's a higher time frame level that has to be taken before it's going to be confirmed. So always keep your eye on that. So that's why even though I draw it, it's got to be okay. I got to accept the fact of what's the bigger picture saying. The bigger picture, never fight the bigger picture. If you're lower time frame patterns in sync with the bigger picture, is great. So for example, say one way to mitigate that is, okay, once you reclaim this, there's a nice long there. So these can be misleading, especially when priced at all-time high and there's a lot of hype around that. You think, okay, it can't go up any further. Market will probably go up, especially indices, a lot further than you think, okay? So that's something that took me a while to learn, but never take your eye off the higher time frame. Excuse me. So yeah, just to summarize it before I waffle on, the deep pullback scenario, I'm wrong below here. So wait for my trigger. I know when I'm playing it, target, and if it breaks back above there, that's a range breaker, and the extension levels are marked out. I mean, there's many ways, like I said, for targets, but that's one way, okay? And the trend continuation, if the mark's really strong, then back down here, and then higher up, okay? At that point, it's holding previous month's high, play the monthly candle extension based on fib extensions like I've shown you, okay? So that's that. So I hope that makes sense. Dollar index and ES. Let's move on now to the Aussie dollar. So looking at the Aussie dollar, very, very bullish. This, I think I'm bullish most of the majors, okay? If you look at all the majors, they're showing similar patterns. But if we look, you know, we got a nice run of these lows last year, okay, into this consolidation here. So probably if you go to the monthly, you can see it, you know, into this consolidation, took out that. Now what I'm looking at is, let's map out the UAE levels. So what we've got here is, we've come up, this was a range, okay? And I'll mark out the range high and say here, okay? So if we look on a yearly basis, we're doing consolidation, we deviated it, closed back within the range. So where would be the next objective? These highs here. So naturally on a higher time frame, that's set my target there. Now that could take time to unfold. I mean, this wick, say if it's a 5 minute, it's easier. But if it's a yearly chart or a higher time frame chart, this could be a couple hundred pips down. Okay, so what would help build the idea? What we've got is previous month's high. So whatever the wick is below that, that would be considered as a deviation. Even if it came back down to here, it doesn't matter. That's where I was waiting for the pullback. Once it confirms to meet the low, then I say, okay, these highs are in target. I can't just say, okay, close, this yearly candle closed, I'm taking a long. Okay, where's my risk gonna be? You see what I mean? So what would I need to see? At least yearly open, above the yearly open, but most importantly, get back above previous year's high. Once it's done that, that's a deviation done, then the probability increases. So okay, that's that done. Let's go down to the quarterly. Do you have any other levels that stand out to me? I mean, ideally, I would have loved, you know, a pullback towards here. Same here. If you look, it broke out here, you would have said, I want to pull back, but market goes and goes and goes. Again, that's trending market. I believe we're entering that phase now. So that's that done. So what are the key levels? And I can't really see much of them. Okay, that's the next upside. After that is there. I don't need to worry about that. From here to there is a couple of hundred pips. That's enough for me. I'll deal with the rest later. Let's go forward now and say, okay, what's the downside? KSR. So beginning of the year, I was thinking there. If you pull back there, which could still happen, I know I'm wrong there because that takes us back below a yearly level. So if you come there, bigger picture, I would have looked for that, but it's not giving me that right now. So what do? I've got to be prepared. Is there another SR level they're hinging off of? I'm going to mark out this level here. Okay, that's a key SR. Why that level? Well, that's key support, and as you can see, you know, key support, once it broke back below, it sold off. So we pushed there. Okay, let's move forward now and say, okay, what range are we dealing with in? So previous month's high and previous month's low. So let's mark that out. Yeah, different color. Say blue. No, I got blue already. Let's say red. Okay. And there. So where we're stuck within is this high here, last year's high or December's high, and last month's low. So that's our range for now. Okay, let's go to the lower time frame. And what would give me my trigger for a breakout? Now, I'm sure there's trades we can take within here. You can see that level here. That's where, you know, we found consolidation. Okay, so doesn't necessarily have to reach. What would I need to see for the probability to say to me, okay, we're ready to go towards there? I mean, I could punt along here and say I'm wrong there, and then look for another long there, or I say, okay, I'm happy to wait. Okay, because this could still just be a pullback into resistance. So I need a clear-cut plan, and I'm happy to get on board later on. Okay, it doesn't matter to me where I get on board. Where I get on board, as long as high probability, I'll find a tighter stop, because if the probability is high, even higher up, then I could put proper risk behind it. So if this happened, that would take us above the yearly open, take us above last year's high or last month's high in this case as well. And that would be, say to be ready to expand. At that point, I'm looking for the swing trade. Now within here, I can probably look for day trades. I know that until this happens, okay, as much as I want this to happen now, I could talk myself into it right now. Probability market hasn't told me that yet, and especially when I said with the dollar index as well. So again, keep your emotions in check. What do I need to see? I need to see that. I need to see that confirmation. Okay, so that means either day trade till that happens. A day trade could evolve into something big. I mean, a bit more confluence. This way, I throw in the trend line, etc. But above here, that's when, from there towards there, that's a high probability couple hundred pips for me, and that's me done. I can wait, you know, even if it's like a couple of weeks. But once that happens, put my foot on the gas, because the probabilities are my favor. When the probabilities line up, then I push my risk up. I don't risk, you know, same amount on every single trade. Certain trades are lower probability. So that would be my Aussie dollar plan. Okay. So let's see what happens there. So if this happens, then I step in for the swing trade. Till then, it's more of a day trade environment. I'm happy to trade it both ways till the swing trade is apparent. Let's move forward now to Aussie yen. Looking at Aussie yen, similar thing, okay. I mean, if we can get indices pushing up, you can get Aussie, etc. pushing up. Aussie yen above the yearly open, previous year's high. What would be the next objective? Obviously, on the way there, we got this yearly level, 2016 low. Then we got this yearly level, 2019 high. Then we got these highs. I'd rather go with more minimal targets. So from there towards there, a couple of hundred pips. Happy with that. And even that can compound many positions. It's all about probability. What do I need to see to increase the probability? So before that, this is still big resistance, okay? So I think the low is in on the yen pairs, looking across the board. But what I think, what increase the probability are two different things. So looking at this, okay, just on this structure, where am I wrong? The fact that we've broken out of this, I mean, we've got something like, hang on. If you were to ask me where am I wrong on this idea, I'd say below here. Okay, that's not enough for me. So what I want to see is, this is the key resistance here. Now if I go to the left, okay, go to the monthly for example, this is the key resistance. I'm going to get rid of this that we've been battling within. So we've got technically a swing failure. Now if it's a swing failure, why is it going back up there? Now obviously on a monthly basis, this could be like another wick. Okay, just like here, a couple of wicks, then down. So, okay, that's fine. So what increased the odds for me is what the ES is doing if it holds, what the other yen pairs are doing. So in this case, I'm also going to mark up last month's high. So if we establish ourselves above last month's high, so one scenario could be we get like a swing failure there, okay? But if we hold above it, that means, hang on a minute, that is no swing failure, that's a clean break above. So we're at that stage now. So okay, here, you know, we got that, and I played a small short, but I knew this was a key level, okay? It's done that. So what I'll be looking for is, if we can hold above here, if it consolidates out right at resistance, that's usually a bullish sign for me. And reclaims it, and see what Aussie dollar does. If it starts pushing up, usually has confluence with the other yen pairs, and that's my trigger. That says to me, we're holding above previous month's high, in sync with the bigger picture, target there. And then, after that, what do I do? Well, that could evolve into something bigger, but I can get out there. It's logical target. And then if it reclaims this key level, so it pushes up into there, pulls back, that's fine. Reclaims this key level and holds, same approach towards there. On the way there, we've got nice clean highs here, here, and then there. Then I'll deal with it. So I know what I'm dealing with in. First target. So that is a trade for me from there towards there, from there towards there, from there towards there. So it's easier for me psychologically, okay? Instead of saying long target there, because within that could have huge dips. This works for me. You gotta find what works for you. Don't give a fuck what others are saying. You find an approach what works for you. Has it proven itself, obviously, first and foremost. And if it has, nobody's there to say, can't say shit to you. So that's that there. Let's see. Again, I mean, the reason why I'm saying possibility, because it's still key resistance. If something happens, you know, fuck knows, and then this happens, then that puts me on a bearish approach. That's a deviation of last year's high, and possibly deeper pullback. We'll deal with that then, okay? So for now, it's pointing higher until proven otherwise. And last but not least, briefly do 6J. I mean, I'm going to go with a chart I posted before, just to save time. So what we've got here is the quarterlies. So I mean, if I quickly go to the yearly, we've got, you know, got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up years, okay? I mean, could this still go up? Possibly, okay? But so far, below the yearly. Looking at across the yen pairs, they're suggesting to me higher prices, which means I think 6J goes lower. So let's go to the quarterly, and I'm breaking this down to range as well. Even if it doesn't, I'll just play level to level until proven otherwise. So what we've got here is we've pushed up this quarterly candle. Once we closed above it, this acted as a floor. We wicked it a couple of times, acted as a floor, and then the high was this quarterly candle. So this was the main consolidation. Closed above it. Okay, so again, this could still be support. Okay, but what increased the odds of a certain direction is what I see on the other time frames. So I mean, if it smashes back above, if it smashes above this blue level here, then I say all bets are off for me, and then it's gonna go higher. So for now, what's it done? It's so on the lower time frame we had a bit of a range. Let me show that. I had these drawn up from last year. I think it's the first time looking at 6J since then. We established a high there. Okay, we had a couple of attempts and clean break. I thought of this and then break back down. So couple of scenarios. I mean, this is I don't really trade 6J as much, but I look at it, you know, it's confluence with the yen pairs lines up. Couple of scenarios is when would the high probability play be? When would be the high probability play? So that's a quarterly level. That's a range established. If it makes a clean break back below here, clear cut objective towards 2020 yearly open and possibly the range low. So when it hits the range high, it comes to the range low. Okay, anything else is just deviations. So the high probability play would be whatever happens. I mean, could it be a shallow pullback from here? Could it do one of these ones? Possibly, I don't care. If this happens and breaks back below here, and then I got the triggers on the Aussie yen and pound yen and etc., and that just adds confluence for me from there towards there. So this is just extra bonus. I mean, I don't necessarily have to look at this. This can just keep ranging. Okay, maybe the Aussie stronger and the yen, you know, consolidates. But yeah, I think lower prices until proven otherwise. Okay, I think if we get back above here, so above this consolidation here, then I think we retest that and we'll see what other yen pairs are doing. But for now, I'm using this as confluence. Below here, I think yen pairs go up. Okay, so I hope that helped. That's just my brief overview of the dollar index, ES, Aussie dollar, and Aussie yen. Okay, that's it. Like the channel, like the video, subscribe, and hopefully I'll do more in the future. Take care.